Welcome aboard the Just Help Out Mindset podcast, where your compassionate guide, Zekequl Venegas, takes the helm. Brace yourselves for an immersive experience as we delve into the heart of crucial conversations. We're set to explore the intricacies of suicide prevention, navigate the landscape of mental health, and boldly shatter the stigma surrounding therapy. This isn't just a podcast, it's an odyssey of resilience and understanding. Join us on this transformative journey filled with stories, insights, and a collective mission to create a world that embraces the strength of empathy and helping others. Fasten your seatbelts. We're about to embark on a voyage towards a healthier, more compassionate existence.
Welcome to Season 2 of the Just Help Out Mindset podcast, where we are breaking the stigma around mental health one episode at a time. This podcast was formed from our nonprofit, the Just Help Out Foundation, based in Tampa, Florida. It was created from the devastating loss of my only sibling, Joey, who died by suicide on May 3rd of 2022. The world lost a beautiful soul that day, and he has forever left a void in our hearts. The Just Help Out Foundation works tirelessly to combat suicide and help people understand that asking for help is not a sign of weakness, but in fact, the opposite. It is a courageous and respectable act. Each guest on the show this season shares insightful experiences in their own personal lives and helps guide you in the journey we call life. Try to be in the present moment and clear your mind while we go on this adventure together. Welcome back, listeners, to Season 2 of the Just Help Out Mindset podcast. I hope you enjoyed listening to Season 1. And today we're going to continue on with the last episode from Season 1 with our guest, Zeke, with the physique. I'm going to reintroduce him in case you missed it or have forgotten all the accomplishments that this man has done. With over 25 years in the health and wellness industry, and once a weight loss patient himself, Zeke has overcome the past physical limiting challenges of scoliosis and kyphosis of the spine during his teenage years to now lead a life dedicated to helping others achieve their health and wellness goals. Zeke is a past national champion and runner-up world, emphasize on world, champion in physique competitions, and pairs that experience and lifelong knowledge to his personal commitment to help patients of all ages needing nutritional expertise and guidance. In his Genesis Wellness platform, Zeke targets body chemistry and lowers toxicity levels in the body, helping those patients develop weight loss sustainability patterns while finding maintenance in all aspects of food, body weight, and balance. His primary focus is to change the way his patients view and manage their health by educating, shifting paradigms, and executing consistency 100% naturally and sustainability. Zeke, welcome back to the show.
It's great to be here, Nicole. Thank you for having me for round 2.
Yes, I'm so happy. I'm so happy you came back for more. So we wanted to get more in depth on a lot of topics that we didn't really get to on our last episode. And today we're going to talk about getting older. Nobody likes that one. Gaining weight and how it affects your mental health. So Zeke, let's start with talking a little bit about how the aging process affects our physical health and our mental well-being.
Yeah, that's a great start. There definitely is a strong link between physical health and mental health. Chronic pain, disability, chronic diseases like diabetes, heart disease, arthritis, they become more common with age and can affect a lot of mental well-being, both in men and women. And just the cognitive changes as people age, as you grow families, as you advance in business, there's different resilience and coping skills that you have to kind of balance out too as you age.
Yes.
You're always adapting to change.
Yes. So what role does exercise and nutrition play in healthy aging? Because everyone's going to age no matter what. You can't help it. You can't fight it. So what can you do?
Well, for exercise and healthy aging, of course, your physical health, regular physical activity helps maintain your strength, your flexibility, your endurance as you age, cognitive function, like we mentioned before. Exercise has been linked to improved brain health and cognitive function. Cognitive issues can arise as we get older. There's so much, we talked in our first episode about nutrition and how there's so many different things that we don't necessarily manage. The government can be in control of a lot of the foods that we eat, how they're processed, how they're made, how they're consumed even. And just something as simple as, using tinfoil. Tinfoil has been linked to Alzheimer's disease. So, how many times do you wrap up your kid's sandwich in tinfoil? You put tinfoil as the liner in your toaster oven. Or the liner of a baking sheet when you're putting a pizza in the oven. Like, there's so many different things that we can even learn from small, just educational pieces like that and translate them down the road into longevity. But I believe that exercise can certainly help with balance and coordination, as we all know, and bone health. So it blends a lot with mental health and anxiety, mood disorders, risk of depression, and so forth.
When we talk about mood disorders, and we link that to nutrition, I love that you talked about the processed food portion, because you're absolutely correct. The government is okaying, if that's even a word, but they're letting this food, even like the baby food, they've got tons of arsenic in it, and we're giving that to our little kids. What are they approving for us as adults? And I love how you said the tinfoil. My brother Joey was huge on this. He was anti-microwave.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on the microwave?
Oh yeah, I did an entire reel on microwave and how bad it does, the things that it does to your food. It actually reverses the atoms and the energy of your food and can super damage it. Yeah. So, and then you're just putting that into your body. But bone health, it goes down all the way to the core of our bodies. The types of calcium that you consume, calcium carbonate can't be digested past the cellular wall, but people are buying calcium. The quality of the calcium is important. So you always need to be able to read nutrition labels. Energy drinks, Celsius Energy. You familiar with that drink?
Of course. My husband loves those.
Well, it has 4 times the amount of daily cyanide a human being should allow in their body.
Oh, no.
Cyanocobalamin is made from human waste sludge. So they actually scrape the top of the foam, and it's shipped to compounding pharmacies and placed inside our supplements and our prescriptions.
They actually deliver Celsius by the cases to the fire department. So I'm going to have to let them know.
Well, the ingredient to look for, there's cyanocobalamin and methylcobalamin. The methylcobalamin is a form of the vitamin B12. Bang Energy, Ghost Energy has those, not putting plugs in for those, but just as a comparative sense, if you look at the back of the nutrition label and you see methylcobalamin, that's the one that's linked to 4 times the amount of cyanide. So.
What's your opinion on energy drinks? I see people drinking 4, 5, 6 a day.
Yeah, they're not good. My opinion is to really restrict the amount that you do if you need to do them. Of course, put that against the person that's drinking 3 or 4 cups of coffee every day.
Right.
What's in your coffee? Is it coffee you made at home? Is it coffee that's organic? Because a lot of these countries that we import coffee from don't have the same quality restrictions on what they do with their pesticides. So now they're doing everything to, grow their coffee to make sure that they sell it in mass amounts, so they make their money on what they're doing, and then they send it to the U.S. We buy it as Colombian roast or whatever it could be from another country, but we don't know how that was actually prepared. So if you're, drinking 2 or 3 of those a day, and what are you mixing it with? Is it black coffee? Are you mixing it with oat milk? Are you mixing it with almond milk, coconut milk, those kind of things? I always tell people when they travel on an airplane, I have my weight loss patients, I have a kind of a homework assignment for them when they're traveling, because a lot of times they will say, I have these events coming up that involve alcohol, or I have to travel to other countries. What do I do to stay on my regimen? And I always say, if you're jumping complete time zones, like if you're going to Europe, if you're going to Asia, then just stay fasted. Try to always make sure that you eat during the hours that you were used to being awake when you were in the US. And I mean, if you want to test it, try waking up and eating breakfast at 3 a.m. and see how that works, if you can go back to sleep. So if you can stay on your circadian rhythm, your sleep patterns that you have, that you're accustomed to, you'll be able to maintain and be successful on your goals.
That's great. Great advice. And I kind of want to take it back just a little bit to where we were talking about pesticides, arsenic, cyanide, and these are typical things in our food in the United States, which is disgusting. And I've seen a huge uprise in cancer, lots of sickness. And also, one thing I've noticed, I don't have specific statistics with me here, but the weight gain in the United States compared to other countries. What are some common reasons people are gaining weight as they age, but specifically in our country?
Well, it all starts in the home. I mean, I think 80%, what was the statistic I read the other day? 80% of children are obese.
80%?
I think it was 80%. Wow. But even if it was 50%, that's 1 out of 2.
Yeah.
So when you think about the way that, the family is just so busy nowadays, they don't sit down. They don't have the traditional dinner as a family anymore. The kids are on their devices, and the roots of the family spending time learning about nutrition, finances, the F's is what I call them: faith, fitness, and finance. Those things are just now removed from those children at a young age, and also the education for being better. We teach our kids right and wrong, but do we teach them right and wrong in terms of consumables? Do we just grab something fast? Mm-hmm. It looks really good, but what do we need to do? How's it processed? Where's it come from? So I think that obesity, it's a billion-dollar industry. So Chick-fil-A, actually, I found out the other day, cooks with MSG. So a lot of the lines that we see, is that the addiction part? I mean, those drive-through lines go around the building, but there's that addiction that we're now putting into our own bodies, we're putting into our kids' bodies, and getting off of those things, metabolically is the challenge that you're setting yourself up for. Just what I really focus on with people in their programs when they come to me is I focus on pH in the body. I focus on hormone levels, bringing them back to where they should be naturally for that person and their age. I focus on 5 things, and those are a few of them. And when I can focus on bringing them back to where they should be for their age, not only do they sustain their weight loss, but they're able to keep it off, and they're doing it without drugs or stimulants. It's resetting the body's chemistry level. And I mean, does your carnivore weight loss program talk about that? No. Does keto talk about that? No. Are those things sustainable? No. I mean, yes, you lose weight quick, but you don't learn why you lose it. So I feel like it's all an education process, from the foods that we eat that are consumables to how we educate ourselves on keeping the weight off, how we educate ourselves on, of course, having fun and doing things that we need to do. But, alcohol, it's a toxin. It's actually something that can penetrate every cell in your body. So when people are consuming alcohol on a regular basis, they're affecting their hormone levels. They're affecting weight gain, of course, because there's a lot of calories there. Not to mention the cognitive aspects that it goes back to.
Oh, we'll definitely talk about hormones in just a minute and how interesting that alcohol is related to the hormones. But I wanted to go back to the fast food piece and feeding the children something quick. Because as a mom and as a busy mom, it's so difficult to not like to throw them some food. So if you had a 2-year-old asking for a friend, what would you feed him?
Asking for a friend. Well, my mom raised me right off the bat off of spinach. So yeah, and that was kind of my nickname. So I grew to enjoy vegetables. Of course, Mom also took me through and got me the McDonald's chicken nuggets when it was busy and I was, in my young years. But I feel like being able to understand why I'm making the choices that I'm making, how does it make your body feel? I mean, my wife all the time, she'll get fried food somewhere and then she'll say, oh, my stomach hurts. I'm like, I don't know why you do this to yourself. You know the end result, but it tastes so good. It's like, but you get that and you get the fries too. That's like a double whammy. So I think we know what we're doing and we just have to work on more of the mental aspect of what we call willpower.
I love willpower. Yes. And discipline.
Yes.
2 very difficult things as it relates to the alcohol too and the hormones. Now we want to talk about stress. Who doesn't have stress? Hormones and lifestyle factors. How do all of those play in gaining weight?
Oh, wow. Well, let me talk about cortisol then.
Oh, gosh. Yes.
So chronic stress leads to a continuous release of cortisol. Cortisol is a hormone that in high levels can increase your appetite and promote fat storage, particularly in the abdominal area. So when you have high levels of cortisol, you might have emotional eating. You might have, your relationship with food can be at risk because then you eat depending on your situation. Disrupted sleep also can lead to elevated cortisol levels. I personally try not to eat after 7 p.m. because then the blood in my body is not digesting food. It's repairing my tissues. It's fully going to sleep at nighttime, which is the exact opposite of when I was training. Some of my mentors would try to get me to consume extra calories by purposely waking up in the middle of the night to like just drink protein powder, just add some more protein to my day. But, then that's an athletic purpose. So those are, of course, different than just our daily regimens, and trying to cut your food off traditionally to reach your goals and to just have a healthy, general lifestyle it's good to keep in mind when you're actually eating and try to cut out those late night snacks too.
So food tracking is probably a pretty good tool. What do you do if you have a client who you notice they are emotionally eating?
So it depends on to what length they have the emotional eating challenge. And I always start with a health questionnaire. The health questionnaire asks them how frequently they've gained or lost 20 pounds in their lifetime up to that date. I also ask them questions that they will answer in terms of, do they seclude themselves to eat? Do they try to eat faster than everybody else? Do they feel like they want to snack between meals? Different things that will kind of key in on how deep of a dive the emotional eating may be. And I have a naturopath as well that's on staff. So and she has calls once a month. So if there's a need to be anonymous to ask specific questions, they can feel free to hop on those calls as well. But generally just education with me. And I mean, I go through and I really explain why somebody could have had the challenges in the past. I also listen. It's important to listen and learn about what the person's actually gone through and what got them to that point and why is it important to lose the weight now.
Very good. And awareness is always key. So they may not even realize how often they're eating, or like you said, if secluding themselves while they're eating. It might just take that conversation for them to realize, oh my goodness, what am I doing? But this is a perfect segue to get into the mental health segment. But in this particular section, I just want to focus on men. Men have a particularly difficult time addressing their mental health challenges. What are some unique mental health challenges that men may face as they age?
I would say the first and most dominant is socialization and stoicism. Many men are socialized to embrace stoicism, self-reliance, and to restrain emotion, which can deter them from seeking help or expressing vulnerability. This condition can lead to increased isolation, difficulty in coping with stress, being able to talk about it, and the reluctance to seek support for mental health issues. Also, some of the challenges that I see are economic insecurity. Financial stressors can be, and particularly pronounced in older age, especially for those who may not have adequate retirement savings or faced unexpected medical expenses that can add to a heightened anxiety or feeling of inadequacy.
I love the stoicism. Men are hunters and gatherers, and they will not be questioned any other way. I see it all the time.
Or at least they'll try it their way first and then yield to opinions after.
Yes. Well, we are getting ready to wrap up. But I want to ask another question because, again, the whole point of this podcast is to break the stigma surrounding mental health. So how does the stigma surrounding mental health affect men's willingness to open up about their struggles?
Wow. Well, generally it would be because it's largely due to societal norms, cultural expectations, masculinity norms. Societal expectations often dictate that men should be stoic, they should be strong and unemotional. Admitting to mental health struggles can be seen as a sign of weakness or vulnerability.
Mm-hmm.
There could also be a fear of judgment. I feel that many men could feel. They fear being judged or perceived as less competent or capable or strong if they disclose their mental health issues. There could be also professional repercussions. As you're aging, typically, you're in your 20s, you're at an entry-level position. 30s, you're a little bit higher in the ladder. Maybe 40s or 50s, now you're vice president. So concerns about negative impacts on your career or professional relationships can deter men from addressing their mental health issues.
100% think about the first responders who will not talk about their mental health because they're afraid they're going to get fired. And if you listened in on season 1, we interviewed a crime scene investigator, and you were able to hear how deeply affected he was with the calls he went on, and he never went to therapy for it. He never talked about it. He just kept it inside. And the thing that does to your entire life quality is unbelievable. And why society views talking about the F word, feelings, as such a negative thing just drives me nuts. I want to know personally in your life, how do you address when you're not feeling so good? Because every day is not amazing. So how do you open up to your wife? Do you talk to friends? How do you manage when you're not feeling so good?
I feel like I have been trained enough in having being aware. That's number one, mm-hmm. Being aware, because then when you're aware, you actually can admit to yourself at what level you are being challenged. If that's something that I feel like I need help for or guidance, I would certainly go to my wife and talk to her about that and get a second opinion. Sometimes that helps me in an indirect way shuttle through my own thoughts and emotions to solve the problem. And it also makes that person who you're surrounding yourself with aware of what you're going through, because then that can certainly affect your your daily living together, right? I mean, if you keep this stuff inside and nobody knows what you're going through, you can have tons of ramifications for that, just in how you act or treat others, and how you expect to be treated, or how they even know how to treat you. Where if you have this communication, if you have the willingness to go to somebody and talk to them, it can just help you feel so much better. It also can allow you to understand more about yourself. And this, you don't have to be married to attain that same result. It could be a friend. It could be someone that's a confidant, someone in church. It could be somebody that you trust. But I wouldn't make it too many people, because then, one thing that we also have between us, Rebecca and I, is that if there's something that we've done to each other, or a challenge that we have between each other, we don't go to our parents and talk to them about it. We don't go to sisters or brothers and talk to them about it, or friends. We keep it very private, and we work on it ourselves. Because if you have your surrounding relationship pool aware of everything that happens in your personal life, then they can start to give you a stigma, or your spouse a stigma, of what they feel like that person is, or what they should do. There's more opinions involved, and you don't need too many opinions, because then you're right back in the same place that you started in, of not knowing what to do or where to go.
That's right. People are very, very judgmental. So I love that you said to definitely reach out for help, but you don't need to tell the whole city, because once you get too many opinions, it could actually make you feel worse. I love that you brought that up. So as we wrap up, I want to know, what advice would you give someone who is struggling? They're not only aging, so they kind of have that battle going on, which is a natural progression. I think aging is great. You become much wiser, but they're aging and they're gaining weight, and now they're kind of getting into this cycle of unhealthiness. They're unhappy. What would you tell someone?
If they're getting into a cycle, then they know, they're aware of where they came from. I would say they're aware of right and wrong, basic right and wrong. Choices. We all have choices. There's heads or tails. So again, it's in that aspect, I would say research and find out somebody who is a professional that can help you in what you're exactly looking to accomplish. One of the things that I find with a lot of my weight loss patients is they've gone down rabbit holes of information on Google, YouTube. Mm-hmm. We can get so inundated with all these people that claim they know what they're talking about, that,
yes,
seem like they know what they're talking about. And I would stick to facts. What did 2020 give us? It gave us this coin phrase called fact checkers. I think that's really a cool phrase, because it's true. I mean, the difference between opinion and what works for you, and finding somebody that can help you, and just sticking to the basics, sticking to things that work for your body. If you've gained weight and you feel like you're on a cognitive decline, getting that team of individuals that can help you correct the root problems, and don't focus on medications. Do the research yourself, because odds are you can certainly self-correct with proper nutrition and even a little bit of exercise.
Thank you so much, Zeke, with the physique. I just love it. I love it. Okay, tell people how they can find you.
So you can find me on either my personal webpage, is my first and last name, Zeke, then my last name, Samples, zekesamples.com, or my business page, which is Surreal Body HN, as in Nancy.com, surrealbodyhn.com.
Fabulous. Thank you so much, Zeke. Wonderful, wonderful information, great advice. And thank you to our listeners for tuning in to another episode of the Just Help Out Mindset podcast, where we are breaking the stigma surrounding mental health one episode at a time. Please tune in next week for another episode of the Just Help Out Mindset podcast.